Greetings everyone. The topic for today is IELTS essay, and we will be discussing about positive and negative developmental essays in detail. If you haven't subscribed my YouTube channel, subscribe it to get more updates related to IELTS, PTE, English grammar lessons and English language lessons. If you are getting a question like lots of people prefer to reside in an apartment buildings in big cities, is that a positive or negative development? If you are getting a question like this, that is that a positive or negative development, so it means that you are having a essay or you are having an essay which is related to positive or negative development. So the format related to this type of essay is in introduction you need to discuss or mention the background topic. Paraphrasing of the topic, it means that you have to translate the topic or the question. Then you need to mention your opinion and two positive points on why it is positive. If you are selecting a positive development, so you need to mention the positive development. And if you want to go for the negative developmental essay, so you need to mention the negative points. So over here you need to mention advantage number one in second paragraph, then in advantage number two and advantage number three, and then later on we will be discussing about the conclusion paragraph. If we are writing the advantage number one in the second paragraph, so we need to mention our point, then explain our point, and we will be providing within an example. And for the next paragraph for advantage number two, we need to mention our point, explain it, and then we will be providing it with an example. Same way with the advantage number three, which will be the next paragraph. We will mention our point, we will explain our point, and we will be providing with an example. So the last paragraph would be related to the conclusion. So for the same essay, if we see that due to urbanization in the modern epoch, people are compelled to live in apartments residency. In this regard, many individuals opt to purchase or hire apartments, which is incorporated with abundant utilities. So over here you can see that this is the background information where we are mentioning it that due to urbanization in modern epoch, people are compelled to live in apartments residency. Instead of the era, we are mentioning the modern epoch word, or you can say the phrase then. In this regard, so this is the paraphrasing of the question, that in this regard, many individuals opt to purchase or hire apartments, which is incorporated with abundant utilities. And then this is your opinion, which is the next sentence. I believe that such an initiative entails some considerable advantages that in turn increase its overall efficacy. This was your opinion sentence, and then you are mentioning the positive points. So over here you are telling them that this essay will highlight the prevalent features of the practice, including options of cost effectiveness. This is one advantage. Amenities, or you can say instead of facilities you are mentioning the amenities, second point. And in terms of security aspects, this is the third advantage which you will be mentioning in overall your essay. So for the second paragraph, you can see that there a small space is left for indentation, you can say. Then the fundamental benefit of leading a life in an apartment is associated with the economical rates. So first point was the cost effectiveness instead of the cost effectiveness, because we need to change our vocabulary. So we are using the phrase economical rates. So verily, the price hike of accommodation in large cities is out of the reach of numerous fraction of citizens. Over here you have explained your point, and then you are mentioning with an example that while combating with financial difficulties and also meeting up with your needs along with have a considerable view on familial budget scale, Flat's lifestyle is the captivating one. So this is a sort of a general example which you are mentioning in this paragraph for advantage 1. Moving towards advantage 2, or the second positive point of this aspect, you are supposed to mention it in this way that another vivid beguiling characteristic is the exuberant facilities that is intertwined with such living lifestyle option. To further explicate, it means to further explain, living quarters are laden with several provisions of daily necessities like laundry, swimming pool, gym, adjacent mesmerizing parks, and a lot more. So, for instance, this is the example which you are mentioning over here, that once I had to live in an apartment while visiting New Zealand to accomplish my research task, and I utterly felt like a home there due to sufficient opulence. So, right, mentioning all these points, we will be covering the second advantage, and we are changing the vocabulary every time. As you have seen that instead of the word, the point amenities, we are using the exuberant facilities in this paragraph. For the third advantage, we are starting our paragraph, which is the fourth one, in this way that one of the inevitable positive aspect is the sense of reliability and safety prevailing among the inhabitants of apartments or quarters. Indeed, the most appealing prospect is the provision of safeguarding, which is the utmost priority of the real estate owners. For example, one of my brother lived in quarters of Islamabad during his college days, and we were devoid of any apprehension as the building was watched by security officers on 24/7 basis. In this paragraph, you can see that you are mentioning the third advantage, which is the in terms of security aspects. So you are using it in this way, the safety prevailing among the inhabitants of the apartments, and you are mentioning it with the help of an example where you are can mention any, you can even mention any sort of a general example that should not be related to your lifestyle, or you can say it should not be personal, it can be your personal, it doesn't make any difference. So, in conclusion, the notion to prefer apartments over houses is purely an advantageous approach. Associated aspects, including financial benefits, up to date lifestyle, and safety in terms of security measures, which made it pragmatic and a worthy selection. So, again, in conclusion, you have concluded your whole essay while mentioning all the positive aspects, that the notion to prefer apartments over houses is purely an advantageous approach, and associated aspects including financial benefit is there, and up-to-date lifestyle is there, which is the facilities, and safety in terms of security measures is there as well. So there is another essay, that nowadays parents give more freedom to their children than in the past. Is it a positive or negative development? So over here you can see that in this essay it is again mentioned that you are supposed to tell them whether it's a positive or negative developmental essay, either to select the positive points or negative points. But in IELTS essay we prefer to use the positive points instead of the negative points. In this essay, in the introductory paragraph, you can see that by mistake there was a space left. So there's no need to leave a space in the first paragraph. So that's the background information. Then you need to paraphrase this whole essay, the topic of the essay, and then you need to mention your point of view, and then but two positive points or three positive points that you are mentioning in your essay. It should be present there in the introductory paragraph. Parental decisions have a lasting and exacerbating influential impact on the lives of the children. This is the background information. So now you are paraphrasing it in this regard, in this frame of the reference. You can use any one. Guardians opt for a liberal stance of transferring maximum autonomy to their children, which was just a dream in the past. I believe, here it's your opinion sentence, that I believe such an initiative entails some considerable advantages that in turn increase its overall efficacy. The essay will highlight the prevalent features of the practice, including the notions of self-reliance, advantage 1, self-confidence, advantage 2, and promising career-based prospects, which is the advantage 3. Moving with this first advantage and the second paragraph, the fundamental benefit of providing children with the liberation is the associated aspect of elevated confidence and empowerment. So over here, instead of the, you are not using the self-reliance, so you are using elevated confidence and empowerment, Verily, the current external environment is extremely competitive and rapid that augments the survival complications of a dependent individual. Over here, you have explained your point. In such circumstances, it becomes an obligation for the parents to groom their children in accordance with the new requirements and to equip them with the practical and effectual amount of the freedom. For instance, this is the example that youngsters, or you can use the word younglings, with an utter sense of liberation are more expressive and confident in dealing with the social situations in a far better way. So this was the example. Same format would be there, that first you need to mention the advantage, explain that advantage, and provide an example related to that advantage. For another positive point, you can see over here that two positive points have been mentioned or written in single paragraph. That another constructive corroboration of the practice is the promising career prospect that is intertwined with the notion of individual freedom. So over here, the third advantage point is the individual freedom. To further explicate or to further explain, parental imposition in opting for a career generally inflicts an exacerbated confusion on children, and in due course they lose the track of their professional accomplishments. Take the instance of my younger siblings. Unlike me, they have the utmost freedom in choosing their educational track and preferences, and in turn reflect in their academic dedication and future determination. So over here, you in the example, you have compared yourself with your siblings. So this is again, it can be a good example that first you need to mention the positive point or advantage point, and then you have explained it, and then you provided it with an example. Moving with the conclusion paragraph, so you can write it in this way: to conclude or to sum up, the idea of infusing a sense of freedom into youngsters is purely an advantageous approach. Associated aspects including self-dependency, radiant future, and promising career opportunities make it pragmatic and worth considering development. So in this way you can end your conclusion paragraph. You don't need to mention lots of things in the conclusion paragraph, just you need to pile up, or you can say add up all those three advantages point in this different word, or you can say you can use the synonyms, and you can just wind up your essay in this way. Now, model essay for the negative development. There is one essay for the negative development as well, because all the essays cannot be positive. So maybe you will get a sort of a question where you will not be able to mention the advantage points, and in that case or scenario you can mention the negative points. Though in IELTS essay we try to avoid to mention the negative points of any topic, we need to be very optimistic, but there are certain limitations where we are bound to do that, or where we are bound to mention the negative aspects or disadvantages. So if we are getting a question like many people prefer to spend money and not save it, what are the reasons? Is it a positive or negative development? So you need to mention the reasons, and you have to tell them that either it's a positive or negative development. First, we will start with the introduction paragraph, and we will do the introductory paragraph in the same way. First, we will mention the background information, then paraphrasing of the question, and then mentioning all those three advantage or the disadvantage. Because we are doing negative aspects, so we will be mentioning the negative points. Unhindered progression and advancement of the life are directly associated with the concept of pragmatic financial planning, resource management, and budgetary discipline. This is the introductory paragraph of the background information of this topic, particularly in introductory paragraph. In this frame of reference, a considerable social stratum of the recent modern period has opted for a spendthrift and lavish spending behavior, and in due course avoiding the efficacy of frugality to its entirety. Now you will be mentioning the, you can say, your opinion. I believe that such an initiative entails some considerable setbacks that in turn increase its negativity. So this essay or the essay will highlight the prevalent drawbacks of the practice, including increased debt burdens and the inability to invest in prospect plans. So these are the two main negative points for this essay. One is the increased debt burdens, and then another one is the inability to invest in prospect plans, that you cannot invest your money for, or you can say, future plans. So the first negative or disadvantage point, the fundamental despondency associated with the notion of hurling all the money in fulfillment of different expenditures, is the boosted debts and financial obligations. Verily, spending without considering saving tactics leads to ineffectual money management that compels an individual to waste a sizable amount unintentionally and borrow more to carry on. The practice eventually creates a heap of lent money, and in many cases, the borrowers find themselves unable to pay the debt that causes additional psychological and financial complications. So over here you have mentioned the negative point, you have explained it with the help of one example, and you have provided a general instance as well, that the practice eventually creates a heap of lent, and in many cases the borrowers find themselves unable to pay the debt that causes additional psychological and financial complications as well. So in this paragraph, while mentioning the consequence, you have mentioned the, you can say, the result or effect of that consequence, that in addition they will be facing psychological and financial complications as well in the form of your instance. So another deleterious impact that is utterly detrimental in this regard is the absence of a safety net that hinders individuals' prospect of investing in any productive and constructive venture. So the people who are reluctant to save money have nothing when they intend to initiate a business or project, and such lacking of financing obscures their way for future prosperity and becomes a long-term hurdle on the road of the success. So over here you have mentioned the second negative point, which was, you can say, why it's detrimental, because in the absence of safety it hinders individual prospects of investing. When you want to invest, so you won't be able to invest your money because you don't have any money which is saved with you. So when you want to initiate a business, you won't be able to do it, or when you want to initiate a project, so you'll be lacking the finances, which is a sort of a hurdle, or it obscures the way of for the future prosperity, or you can say you won't be able to go on the road of success. To conclude, you can leave, the indentation is not there, but you have to mention it, and you have to leave a bit space to conclude. Prodigal inclination without saving money is an utterly negative trend and features the most long-term and short-term negative consequences. Over here you have mentioned this thing, that if you have prodigal inclination without saving money, so it's utterly negative trend and feature the utmost long-term and short-term negative consequence. For the long term you will be affected, and for the short term you will also be facing difficulties if you have this approach. So augmented debts and being financially handicapped in the face of misery are the most prevalent adversaries of this tendency, or you can say this approach. So two things again: augmented debts and being financially handicapped. Why augmented debts? Because you will be lending money, and you won't be having enough finances, so you'll be financially handicapped in the face of misery, and these are the most prevalent adversaries of this tendency, or you can use the word approach as well. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. If you haven't subscribed my YouTube channel, subscribe it to get more updates related to other lessons as well. Thank you.